continuous deployment is what is like you actually deploying it in very frequent manner. Okay, so in order to deploy your application onto the servers very frequently, you need to have a lot of automation stuff which need to be taken care. Like your build need to should happen automatically, or the check-ins which will happen, it need to carry out certain unit test, okay, so that it doesn't break a build while a build server is actually running that particular all files. Okay, it should not break at that moment. Okay, and you should not take up any files which actually can screw up the stable file which are there at the on the builds on your release server, or on your central server, central source control server. Okay, so if you have something called as GitHub as your central server, where you are actually, or the developers across all of the teams who are located globally are checking into the GitHub, which is a central source control. And if one developer makes a mistake, it should not screw up the whole the repo, the source control repo, whatever you have. Okay, you should not do certain kind of stuff like once you checked in, you need to roll back stuff, those stuff. Okay, so before doing that, what you can do is like you can put certain unit tests and other cases, or where you can validate using, like you can have your code analysis tools as well. Okay, so these code analysis tools also comes with a third party as well. Okay, they can run on that particular code, and they actually can remove if any sort of ambiguities are there in your code. Okay, and proper code can go and will submit to a request to a build server, and then the build server actually builds the stuff, builds the code which you had submitted to the source control, and then a successful build will go and sit onto your production environment, like it would be hosted on your Azure website or somewhere else. Okay, so when you do this continuous deployment kind of workflow, like your Azure pulls your Azure website, right? It would actually pull your stable copy of your application from your source control, wherever you have kept in that source control. Okay, if you have certain kind of build automation server, what it would do is like your production environment, which is Azure website, will make a call to your build automation server, or wherever your source control or your stable code is there, and then each and every time your stable code actually, once it checked in or after the build, okay, and that code would be with that publishing setting files, everything would be taken by the Azure websites, and it would host on its premise. Okay, so if we talk about continuous delivery process, I mean this particular slide is a little bit old, okay, but I thought that it's a little bit relevant as well right now. Okay, so I've kept this slide for your stuff. So what, like, it would show up all of the tools which actually we would be using in the build process or continuous delivery process. So as I said that we are doing this, we are going to do this. We are going to learn a lot continuous delivery stuff. So as I said that whatever stuff we would be taking care with the continuous delivery, right? So it would be like will be involving a lot of tools or third-party tools as well. Okay, so one such like whenever developer checks in code, either he would be checking in code in his local Git or into the GitHub, okay, or any other VSTS server as well. Okay, so and he would actually, like, what the build server like Maven tools or the build tools, what they do is like they actually check out the code from the source control and they'll try to build it. Okay, and they would run unit test cases when the build things happens. Okay, so this is like setting up a build pipeline initially. Okay, and then once the build pipeline is set, we have something called as release pipeline. Okay, and the release pipeline would happen before it goes to prod. Okay, so the build pipeline would take care, the Maven or any other tools would take care of checking out the code and performing unit tests. And like if you have Sonar kind of tools which actually checks do sanity checks or code quality analysis as well, on top of your code, and then it would deploy into the test environment. Okay, so after that test environment, testers or other people who would be testing out the feature oriented tests, they would be running out. Okay, after the successful test environment, the testing would be done. It would be, the pushed automatically to the latest builds or the perfect builds would be pushed onto the build server. And then for integration testing, like you have test frame like JUnit or another test cases, you can integration tests you can carry out. And then like most of like these stuffs or the everything related to testing, maybe Jagan or Archana knows them better rather than me. And then we go to something called as packaging and archiving section. Okay, we can use Nexus for this. Okay, tools. And then after that, successful builds which we have, and it is packaged well so that it can go to a production, we actually deploy to a pre-production environment, or in Azure terms we can say it as a staging section, okay, or stage slot. We discussed yesterday, right? We have something called a staging and production slot. So we will first deploy it to the staging slot. We will carry out some user acceptance tests. Okay, so that we will trigger this particular to a certain group of users who can actually do the testing, or they can check whether that particular feature is working fine. Once that UAT is done, it would be deployed into prod, or there would be just a swap which will happen with the staging and production slot. Okay. That is there. And for this particular deployment to pre-prod stuff, you can use Chef or Puppet configuration, because if any of you need to do any sort of configuration management or any kind of desired state changes onto this particular server, right? If you are putting a certain application which needs a PHP or MySQL specifically, they need to be installed. Okay, so using Chef or Puppet, you can do those stuff. You can install and make your machine ready. Okay, if it's on Azure or on any or at on-premise. And then once the environment is set up, you will have this successful build put onto the staging slot and then to the prod slot. Okay, and so you can put onto this particular prod slot, right? You can deploy onto VMware or Rackspace or on any containers, AWS or Azure or anything else. So everyone actually if they are developing a code and they want every feature to release very quickly, or they have very short span of or they have very what you say is like a cycle of feature cycle, then they actually go through this particular continuous delivery process, irrespective of whatever technology they would be using it behind, or for hosting, for deploying, or for developing, irrespective of them. Okay, so one such example which we would be taking is we'll take an example of I've just created a plain. Created a plain web app. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll just open Visual Studio. I opened it yesterday. Okay, this is the one. So I just create a plain web app. Okay, and what we're gonna do is we will try to push this web app into the web application into the web app which we created a few minutes back. Let it load up. I'll open my VSTS account where actually I have this code. So I said, right, there's source control, we have source control tools. Okay, and we actually worked with many times with GitHub. Okay, for setting up some continuous deployment and continuous integration stuff, we're actually going to use our visualstudio.com profile. Okay, so it is the same profile via which you got your all of the Azure subscription, everything, right? So you can go to the profile section of it. You can go to the Visual Studio profile. So this Visual Studio profile I've been using since many years. So you'll see a lot of profiles which the Visual Studio accounts which have been created, or apps which have been created till now. Okay, and these are accounts which are created by when I set up continuous deployment stuff. Okay, so one of the stuff which I'll be talking about is this particular plain ASP.NET web app, on which we'll be testing out our continuous deployment stuff. Okay, and let's see the code. And this is my code. Okay, this is my total code which I have. Okay, if I do any, like, I need to integrate this, okay, with my Azure web app, okay, before triggering any builds. Okay, so you can see that you can go to Team Explorer, you can see the connections which it is connected. It is Azure jumpstart.visualstudio.com, and this is Azure jumpstart.visualstudio.com. Under this we have plain ASPWA, and my code. Okay, so plain. Okay, let's take up this code, plain ASPWA. Okay, let's push this code onto this Azure jumpstart. Okay, where's our code? This is my code. Okay, so what I do is, like, this is a code which I took up, right? So I should jumpstart. It would say that Azure jumpstart everything. So my solution name is Azure jumpstart as well. Okay, and this is a code which I have. Okay, I just got confused with other test continuous deployment code as well. Okay, this is my code. So what I'm gonna do is, like, I can see the changes, right? So what I will do is, like, for your confirmation, I have did have modified some changes. Okay, this says that unmodified version of the app deployed using continuous deployment. I'll check in this. Okay, before checking this, what I'll do is, like, I'll carry out integration stuff, like where I need to integrate or connect this VSTS with our Azure website, where actually the deployment would be done. Okay, where is my this is, here is my web app which is running this particular blog engine. Okay, but I don't want, what I will do is, like, I want to integrate with different stuff. I'll go to deployment option. Okay, so you can see something called as continuous delivery, which is coming as, it's in preview, this continuous delivery. So what you can do is, like, you can automate your build, test, deployment, and you can deploy to your test environment. Everything you can do, like, you'll have different set of environment as well, where you can test, and then you can push that code into your this particular production. This particular app, web app, you can consider as a prod. Before that, we'll have a test as well. Okay, so this is in preview. I didn't try this. I'll just go with the default option, which is deployment option. I'll choose a source. So my source is Visual Studio Team Services. Okay, so it will prompt for, as I'm already logged in, it didn't prompt for authentication. I'll just select Azure jumpstart. Okay, so it knows that whatever projects are there. Okay, and it just showed the project, and we select the project and choose a project, and there select Azure jumpstart. And yes, the branch which I have is master, on which I'm checking in. You can see my last check-in was index page changed for reflecting in CD process. And what I do is, like, if you want to configure a performance test on top of this, like, after every successful build or your application would be deployed onto this particular code, it would run this particular performance test, like its availability test, and whether each and every page is available or not from this particular locations. Okay, you can carry out load test everything. Okay, so what I'll do is, like, I'll try to my code is my code I would be hosting, since I created a web app which is in southern India, right? So I'll put a load from South Central US. Okay, let's it load. Let it trigger 100 request. 100 is not accepted. Okay. Okay, so for this service plan, free service plan, right, it can take up 40 users request, it is saying, since because it has CP limitations, right? So the duration would be, minutes says 1 minute. I set, like, let me try 0.6, 0.20. It takes, no, it's not taking. It won't take 20 seconds. So let it, the minimum is 1 minute. I'll keep it. My performance test would carry on once my my thing is kicked on. Team service account. Choose a team service account to create a performance test. Already this particular account is there, so I'll go with that. Team service account is already there, and then I click OK. That's configured. I click OK. Yes, it's adding a performance test to it, and it's setting up a deployment source. So let's check. I'll put this overview. Okay, so this is my web app, and this is currently running this code. Okay, but in my source control I have different code. Okay, and once I make my another next build, it actually need to push that particular code into here, and this particular thing should go off. Okay, let's go and make some change. Think of that a developer changed a particular line in this particular code, and he checks in. I'll commit this code. Okay, I'll say that added a line in the index.cshtml. It's a simple web app. Okay, what I'll do is, like, I can commit all. Okay, if I do commit all, it would push into my local branch, and if I do commit all and push, it would put into my VSTS account. Okay, so it's committed and now it's pushing. So the outgoing commits which are there is this one, added a line in the index.cshtml. Okay, so it's successfully pushed into my server, and so I'll just refresh it up. So you can see the change on this particular index page. It should be added a line 2 in the index.cshtml. Okay, you can find a change in index.html. Okay, in the meantime, there should be a call which should be triggered in the Azure websites as well, and it should take this particular code. Okay, index should be in the view and home. Okay, so I made a change in this particular line. Okay, so my new changes are there. Let me go and check in whether it kicked off. The deployment or not. So I'm trying to load up the page. If it kicks in the new code, then there should be new website in here and not the old website which is already there. It's trying to load up. I'll go to deployment options again. Let's see if I see the history from here. I've already set up, so you can see that index page changes for reflecting in CD progress VSTS. So there's been a it triggered a build. Okay, so our code is here. So unmodified version add into this, which particular package it had uploaded. Okay, it would have triggered the previous one. Let me refresh this. We did one more change, right? That change should also come here. That's my previous change, which it is persisting. It is loading up now. Okay, this is a previous change, and the change was, I can show the change in commits. Okay, so index page was, which I did when I did 8/16, okay, 15 days back. Okay, and the recent code trigger was this one. Okay, so it would trigger this one as well. So once this is done, since it's making a fresh deployment, so it had taken the last stable code, okay, and that had triggered. After that particular trigger, okay, we have triggered this. It should deploy this particular changes as well. After this, let it complete that. We have the website. Okay, so this is a previous change which was there, and it's deploying right now. We should have one more change as well. So once this is completed, we'll trigger one more commit and it would take up both of the changes. You can actually go into it, saying building. So once the code it's actually there in here, you should see your performance results tests kicking on. So let me check whether the performance tests are already kicked on, because I have my website ready on, right? So the performance test should be there. So yeah, performance test is queued. Okay, and once it gets a green flag from my here where we have our deployment, it's saying that it's building that code. Okay, maybe it's taking the recent code. That's what is showing building. Once we have, we'll find this ASP.NET unmodified version here. Okay, let this thing happen. We'll continue with our slides and we'll come back. Okay, so basic changes, what happened is whatever code which was there, blog engine was there, was completely replaced with a new page. Okay, and then now after this particular version, it would take up the second version, which is this one we have added recently. The last stable copy it had taken, and if you commit again, it will take that change as well. Okay, let this the 2 cycles reflect, and then we'll just check our performance tests. This is in progress. It was queuing, right? This is in progress. You can see it would show up. What it would do is, like, it would every 1 minute it would put up around 40 minutes of. This is my last thing, last test. 9:15. Okay. 9:56. Okay, I'll go inside it to get more details. So on putting 40 users calls, so it would define like how much CPU increase is happening. Okay, according to that, actually you can define like what kind of CPU, whether you need, you can which particular size of instance you can get it. Okay, since web app depends upon app service tier or plans, right? So I took a free basic plan for this web app. Okay, I can decide according to the CPU time, according to the load which I'm putting on this particular app. Okay, and it would be give me like what is the memory in average it is consuming, everything. And since it's just a free plan, okay, so they have certain limitation. They don't auto scale, or instance is only one. Okay, and according to that or this particular details, you can you can actually define in production how much or what kind of plan you may go. You can, if you want to opt any premium kind of plan, okay, according to this basic standards or tests or load test, you can define them or you can opt them. Okay, it's saying that in progress 100% tests have been done. Okay, and these are all the results. And performance, how the performance is happening under the load. So user load is max is 40, and what is the average response time of each page rendering. Okay, so like what it would do is like it would try to access a page in this. Okay, and within 29 seconds the page is getting responded. Okay, and request per second is 34, and all of the requests which came to it are actually succeeded. No request got failed. If it failed, then it will show a message up here, and you can debug into it and check that which particular page had shown up a failed error. Okay, according to that you can debug into your application and then find out that why your application or that particular page had failed for rendering it. Okay, and what I would prefer to show you guys is once this all is done, and we want to see the performance test is carried out for the initial code which we had, but our thing was we want, yes, so you can see that my second commit which had happened is also triggering my source control. My Azure website is actually figured out that there is another change which has been made to source control, and this is the latest change which had happened, and it's actually putting up that code as well. Like it would take up the code, build the code, and then put that into this Azure website app. If it's come up, you would say ASP.NET unmodified here, unmodified version. Yes, this is unmodified version. Okay, so this is my recent check-in, ASP.NET unmodified version of the web app. Okay, so this is how continuous deployment thing works. If I do, and the same thing if I go and do one such okay, I'll do one more last check-in. Okay, it would I said nothing, and I'll check in. I'll commit, adding one more line. LOC. I'll check. Okay, I'll commit all and push. You can see the change, which particular file is changed. I can commit all and push. Okay, so it would do that push check-in, everything would be done, and then it should be displayed in this particular page. Okay, and you'll come to know who is checking in or who is checking in the code. Okay, you can go and check that particular. If you have multiple branches, it will show up here as well. You can see the commit ID and you can check the difference. Okay, you can check out the difference, what was the previous code and what is the change which had happened. Okay, and then like that's a GitHub doesn't give this kind of sort of stuff, but you get it on VSTS, and that too for free. Okay, so how does VSTS runs is like it runs on it would give you there's something called as agents and other stuff which we'll come to know. Okay, by that like while learning that you'll come to know like how Visual Studio or what amount of quota or something the VSTS or the Microsoft gives via Visual Studio. Okay, so for now you just take it as this is a source control where you can put your code and then check in the code, and you can integrate with Azure websites. Okay, and then like you can set up this continuous integration stuff, and then it's good. So after this particular my second line of which I've added, it would trigger the performance test again. Okay, performance test, it's last. Okay, so the last run it would show, and if it's have any recent runs it would show up the queuing or running this. So this is queued already for the second check-in which had happened. So first it's completed. Okay, after every check-in you have, it's good manner to set up your performance test. Okay, and if you want a specific account where these all results get pushed into, you can set up them. Okay, and we discussed about deployment credentials, deployment slots, staging and production. You can actually push into staging, test have this performance test on staging. Okay, by that time, so if you trigger around 10,000 loads, right, and the actual traffic which you are getting, yesterday I talked about something called as warming up of server, right? So what happens is like how you're gonna warm up server by triggering multiple requests to or carrying out some load test on top of that particular website. Okay, so if you go with the standard or premium plan, right, you will have deployment slots, staging and production. Okay, so you can put your code onto staging, and you can carry out a, you can set up a performance test as a set it up right now, right? So you can have the same. Okay, you can set up a performance test, and you can if think that your website is actually taking up current load as 10,000 requests. Okay, so what you do is like you will put a 10,000 user request from in your performance test that actually boosts up your application which is running on staging, and it will be ready to, when you just swap it to production, it will ready to take up the load. Okay, so that's a benefit of this having this performance test. It can warm up your application in your staging itself. Okay, once that is done, so this is all my graph which says that what is the data in, data out as explained, and if any errors are happening, you can actually check in the first page itself. So once it loads, you can tag this particular page or this particular reports to your dashboard. So it's pinned to dashboard. Okay, and you check the results. Even you can go to your performance test, and you should be able to tag your performance test results to, yes, pin to dashboard. I have this option, so I can pin to dashboard, so I can check these all details from the dashboard itself. I doesn't need to come every day and check like how my application is doing, whether it's able to take up the load or not. So you just go to the dashboard, you'll find all the pin details, whatever you pin, right, you will have at one place. So if you have any teams who actually monitor stuffs, monitor application or something, like you have a DevOps team or complete service reliability team, they can have this particular dashboard. Okay, two dashboards, share dashboard, that is, and create a new dashboard. Okay, and I can name it, I can name this particular dashboard with respect to the Azure guy web app monitoring dashboard. Okay, so that's specific to a certain application. You can set up your dashboard. Once you have monitoring dashboard, I'll keep it. This level of customization I don't see in other vendors. And once you have that, you can actually create a tip like this. Okay, you can add some dashboards as well. Okay, so in that particular dashboard you can keep certain activity log analytics at somewhere here. Okay, and then I need to configure that, and I can have something called as markdowns. Okay, so markdown, what it would give is like it would say me that my title would be like a checklist. Okay, so if I'm hosting a website and you want a person who is actually monitoring this particular website, you can say that like where to check or what are the steps to check. Okay, you can have this monitoring checklist, and you can find in this monitoring checklist, what you can do is like you can mention him certain steps. Like what I will do is like this time, let's put I'll define certain steps, like it's basically HTML, so I can put any code. Okay, first step 1 I can define like check HTTP errors. Okay, and my step 2 would be check performance test results. Okay, and then I'm done. So it will show you the nice steps when I click this done customization. Okay, so my step one, okay, I copied the step two, right? So step one can be like this, or I can, if I want to hit it perfectly, and new line should be, I hope, this one, if I remember correctly, and this should be my step two. Okay, click done. Okay, and I should be refreshing it. So I'll get the dashboard. Okay, and I have this step one and step two. Okay, and once I have that, I can actually go and tag the resources to it, right? So what I'll do is, like, I'll first I need to check that HTTP request, right? So my HTTP request in there. So second thing I need to check is performance test, how it's happening. Web app usage performance test is this one. So my load, so I'll pin to dashboard. Oh, okay, let me refresh it so that it will show up like the new dashboard which I've created right now. I'll go and pin this to dashboard. What is this? I should have another name as well. No, I'm not getting it. Let me go to the HTTP. Okay, it's showing here the performance under load. Okay, directly onto your dashboard. And what you have, another thing is I need to add HTTP error stuff as well, right? So I'll go to that. My let tag this request pin to dashboard. So the default dashboard it has taken as this one. Okay, and yeah, this is my under the request tab. Okay, as well. Okay, so this is how you can, at one space or on the dashboard, you can check the results of your whatever thousands of applications which are running inside your subscription. Okay, and you can have a monitoring team which would be continuous 24/7 checking out these results. Okay, how things are running or not, is it fine or not, the average response is not increasing, what is expected or not. Okay, so that you can actually proactively take up actions, and before a service ticket would be created by your customer, you can proactively take action, and you can do some reboot or restart of your application, and then it would take care. Okay, and you can have set up certain SLAs which actually which will take care of generating proactive alerts, stating that, yeah, you have average response time decreasing, I mean increasing, so please go ahead and restart the VM, or the VM restart the Azure websites itself. Okay, so those kind of stuffs are there. And with that said, we have this check-in, right? So we should also see another let's see a new changes came up or not. I just refreshed my Azure website. It should have come up by now. I'll just go to my web app. Let's close this. All resources. My web app is here. So I'll go to the deployment credentials, I mean deployment details. So where I'll deployment options, where I'll see that my third, yes, the third is also triggered, the final check thing. Okay, so the previous stuff is inactive, it says that is done, and currently this second stuff is active, and the third check-in which you have done, that is building. Okay, so I should see my third change, second change here. Okay, so you can see that my second change here. Okay, and I hope that this is a third change as well which had come up. Okay, and this is saying build, but already our performance test would be running. Yes, they are queued, they would run once this particular building stuff completes. Okay, so that's what is continuous deployment. And let's see whether we have any other slides. So we triggered our first CD setup, this one same. So these are different, like few days back it was a different UI, and this is different, little bit different UI which you have. Yeah, our changes had done. We saw that performance test, and we saw these graphs, and default it would create a Visual Studio profile for you. Okay, and since we run a performance test, right, for that it would create a Visual Studio profile. Okay, which had created already when I last time ran. Okay, so that's why I have that, and my information is this. So for running performance test, you need to create an account. Yes, last time I created this one, and I have used this one. Okay, but I never created a this kind of alphanumeric Visual Studio account. Okay, it's like when you select performance test, or when you create a new account for your performance test, it would create this account. Okay, that's a thing. And
there's turkey in the oven, the mashed potatoes bubbling, watching football with our family and our friends. We smell the food a-cooking, and Grandpa keeps a-looking. Grandma pushes him out of the kitchen again. The little cousins, they all zoom, screaming loud from room to room. We don't seem to care.